early. It is what, 4 a.m. for you now?
Exactly. I joined at 3 a.m. by ignoring the
Yeah.
daylight savings. So again, after 1 hour at 4 a.m. I joined.
Oh gosh, it must be so. So I have to give you a little high five here because I'm not too far away from you. I'm in Amsterdam, so for me it's 5:15 almost.
Okay. Nice to meet you.
Okay, some more people. Elizabeth, welcome. And I know, Vikram, you unmuted yourself. Probably you were already ready to, just say hello to us. And now I see you muted yourself. So welcome to the meetup.
Thank you, Nidhi. I had some glitch, I just went into my calendars, but I was not able to find the link, so it took some time.
Totally fine. Yeah. So where are you joining from today?
I'm joining from Hong Kong.
Oh, nice. Okay, so this is a truly international group where we are all traveling, we're all everywhere in all parts of the world. Such a great representation. Yeah. So,
Last Saturday we had SPC meetup here in Hong Kong.
Ah, okay, all right, very nice. So the community in Hong Kong is also growing then.
Yes.
Yeah. Fantastic.
My apologies, I'm sitting in a place where I can't switch on my cam.
Yeah, that's totally okay. Do you want to share a little bit more about yourself, Vikram? So a bit about your background and what brings you here today.
So I grew up in project management and delivery and then moved to Agile around 8 years back. And I did a transformation for a fintech which I worked before, and then moved to a consulting firm called Y Innovation. And here I am. It's a very short journey.
Okay. Short and sweet. Okay. Great. Thanks for sharing, Vikram, and welcome to the meetup. So last, we only have Elizabeth. Elizabeth, I'm not sure if you can hear us, but it would be lovely to hear, where you're from.
Yeah, so, hi.
Hello.
Yeah, so basically I'm from Kenya. I'm representing Auspicious Agile.
Yeah, Nidhi, she's on my team.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. Great. Okay.
So happy to have everyone on board.
Yeah. Thanks. Okay. John, are we good? Are we?
I think so. I'm sure other people will kind of roll in. They usually do over time, but if you and Ola would like to go ahead and take it away, you can introduce yourselves. I'm sure everyone mostly probably knows me. I organize and coordinate these each month. So Ola and Nidhi, if you want to take it away, go ahead and please get started.
We'll do that straight away. Ola, shall I? You?
Yeah, you can start. Absolutely.
It's such a small group, and I think it's beautiful if we can just keep it free flowing and just more conversational. It doesn't need to be formal. So anytime, any input all of you have, because there's also such great experience here, right? So any input you have, feel free to jump in, share. Let's just keep it super free flowing. I noticed that Roger is back. Roger, can you hear us now? Because last
everyone.
Right.
Hey, yeah. Okay, I'm from Singapore. So yeah, I'm working as a project manager for one of the civil structural engineering company in UK, right? But it's based in Singapore. Okay, so right. So I'm new to TAFE as well. Just got my SPC certification December last year. So have been doing some trying to set up safe in my corporation basically. Yeah. So yeah, just want to check out this meetup and also learn from the experts here.
Okay, very nice. Lovely to have you.
Thanks.
Thanks. And very quickly, Harihara Sudan. Did I say that right?
You're right. My name is Hari. You can call me Hari.
Okay,
I'm
nice.
based from India. I'm based from India, Bangalore.
Okay, yeah, great. Thanks. So thanks for joining, Harry. We've got people from Bangalore, from the UK, Singapore, Japan, Hong Kong, Amsterdam,
Great.
Jeddah, Sweden,
Yeah.
Thailand. Ola, I can probably say all these names.
That's all.
Yeah.
Fine. Thanks,
Oh,
Nidhi. Thank you very much, Nidhi.
yeah, we were just about to start, so you came in at the right time. So we were just starting with quick introductions. So I'll begin with mine with a beautiful slide that I put so much effort in, and Stephanie, of course, helped me with that. So I'm based in Singapore and Amsterdam. I live between these two countries, and in Singapore, I've got a very small boutique consulting company, Arvivo. It's there for many years. That's quite a few now, knowing that how fast and instant things go. We do primarily three things: academy, so some classes, facilitation and coaching. I'm a leadership coach, so I do a lot of leadership workshops, facilitation of those workshops, design sprints, and also coaching, and of course, business transformation. This is me. So this is all, you can feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, and this is all the technical stuff, but just a little bit on my background. I've got two beautiful children, 15 and 12, and I've been quite active in the Agile industry since 2014. I've had that typical journey of being, in an IT team, then being a Scrum Master, Agile coach, enterprise coach. I work with McKinsey, but I'm a vendor with McKinsey, with Deloitte and quite a few other consulting companies, but I also do my own, I also work with my own clients. The topic why we are here today is really why is business agility not kicking off? That's the topic I'm here to talk about together with Ola. So there's a whole, so Neil, I was telling you, right? There's a whole story behind this topic. So Ola and I were discussing how to facilitate this event, and one of the key considerations during that was, what topic we're going to speak on. Been to a lot of events, standard setup. So one thing we anyways wanted to keep was free flow, but also the other thing was more on, okay, what topic we are going to speak about. And that's when we were like, okay, you know what? There's so much that's been talked about here and there, and everybody talks about this rosy picture on when we start about transformations. People clients believe that, oh, we'll go through this transformation, everything is going to be okay. But actually 1/3 of the transformations fail. And that's when both of us are like, yeah, good. Let's just talk about the big elephant in the room. Agile has done well over the years, but what about business agility? Is it doing well? Is there already capability around it? So that's the topic we'll be talking about today, on why is business agility not kicking off. Before I continue, Ola, very quickly, do you want to introduce yourself now, or shall I move on and then you want to?
I can mention a few words about me here. So I'm not become the elephant in the room. So very quickly, hi everybody, nice to meet you here. My name is Ola here, and I'm today with you from Jeddah, Middle East, where I'm right now working. I'm here for some weeks working with a client here in a safe transformation, but I live most of my time in Asia. So Singapore, where I live in Thailand, and Singapore is a key area for me that have a lot of engagement. I worked with Scaling Agile, actually before SAFE, as a Scaled Agile Framework here. I started first already 2005, worked many years in, little more 10 years to leading big Scaled Agile implementation with IKEA, the Swedish furniture company. And so mid-2015, something I started to use SAFE in different context here. And I became SPCT, so SPC trainer here 2020. I started a program 2018, and working in that role. So, and we're not so many Asia. I think it's still just me and Jared Cadden that are SPCTs in Southeast Asia here. So I hope with that I can bring in some reflections and also be a part of developing the framework. So you maybe have seen now, March 15, there will happen quite big things. I've been part of that journey developing those things. So that is the quick about me.
Very nice. Thanks, Ola. Okay, so we'll be going back to our topic. So Ola and I, we will be discussing this topic today with all of you here. So just very quickly, business agility, right? We're talking about why is business agility not kicking off? But business agility, every time I talk to people, there's a different perspective of business agility. Vikram, you unmuted yourself. There's something you want to share?
No, Nidhi, I just checked your profile and
Oh, okay.
LinkedIn invite is pending for a long time.
All right.
Ola and I are connected. I didn't realize that. I unmuted myself. I'm sorry.
All right. Okay. I thought there were some feelings behind business agility and you had something to share. So yeah, but anyways, when we talk about business agility, there are lots of different perspectives. So just very quickly, I wanted to, have a little check-in with this group on what is your perspective of business agility? What do you think business agility is actually? Before we start on why, maybe we take a step back and start with what is it? Neil.
You're fast. Noticing the icons there. Okay. I guess for me, I look at what people say about business agility, and it usually says being able to quickly respond to outside market forces. But I kind of want to think about it as the ability to change internally more than responding to something. I feel like, first of all, it should be something to do with process improvement inside the organization, because like getting good at responding to things means you haven't done the planning internally. That's just my opinion, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, good. Good thought sharing, Neil. Thank you. Any others? Yeah, Harry?
What I would say is kind of business agility is more like, the organization's adaptability, how well the organization can really respond to the existing market needs, and can they bring in some big data or some kind of latest technology to bring down the cycle time. And overall, we are optimizing and doing things actually so it's as Neil mentioned, it's a quicker way of achieving things rather than taking the roundabout path. You achieve something rapidly, and you need to respond to the market needs. I feel many companies failed because they were not able to respond to the market needs in the past. So I feel that basically the organizational adaptability is the major, that's what is business agility all about, I understand.
Yeah, really nice. Really, really nice, Harry. Thanks for sharing. So,
what I feel is that it is the adaptability to stay relevant in the market.
Yeah, staying relevant, definitely. Yeah. So why, right? So why is it not kicking off? So our inspiration came more from Simon Sinek, the golden circle. There are different theories behind this golden circle, that sometimes people say there are critics that we should not start with the why, but I love this framework. So starting with the why, and then how do we achieve it and what? In this case, we talked about what is business agility, just to do a level set. So this is what you see on the screen here. This is more from the Business Agility Institute. So what they're saying is that business agility is a set of organizational capabilities. What you described just now, behaviors, ways of working. So all of you mentioned parts of this. So all together in totality, the picture, what you see here is that something that brings organization the freedom, flexibility, and resilience to achieve its purpose. So I see Agile. I work with them quite a lot also. I'm also an SPC, by the way. I forgot to say that in my intro. And I also work a lot with IC Agile. So they say, well, it doesn't matter what the future brings. There's a belief. This belief, if you go ahead with this belief, it applies to all organizations that are seeking to realize a vision and impact the world. So what's important is the culture and values, that prioritize continuous learning. That's what the, business agility is in crux. So going back to so all in all, 3 points here. Business agility is a difficult undertaking. It stays difficult, and especially if not done well, it will come with a likelihood for failure. That's what we've seen. We have seen over the years that almost 1/3 of the transformations fail. And also the way it's set up in an organization, that also matters a lot, because it's not something that you just start with top 5 executives in a country. It's not a top-down approach. It's definitely not a bottom-up approach. It is about getting people, culture, the design thinking and involvement of people who actually do not understand the breadth and depth of what they do until they get in it and until they start doing it. And the journey can be super frustrating, right? Leaving behind the traditional way of working and then doing something totally different, being so fast and quick stints of planning and really moving fast through planning. That can be so difficult and so uncomfortable, but it is about realizing the full potential of the company. So not an incremental bump here or there. But all in all, transformations have historically been difficult, and it will stay difficult, especially when we talk about the entire organization. Then we've got the context, new context. So something actually, a quick one. Is there anyone here who's working in the exact same way that you were working pre-COVID? Anyone? Neil, I see you doing. No. Yeah, Rajesh is also no. Ola, for me, also big. It's just not the same, right? The context has changed so much, and there's one thing after the other. So COVID already brought in a big revolution, like industrialization was one thing, urbanization was one thing. COVID brought in a total new context. The way we work now is so different. And that didn't end yet. We barely even got used to COVID and the new way of working. And we are still figuring out, how do we work? Is it hybrid? Is it work from home? Is it work from office? We are still trying all of these things. And then there comes the AI and the ChatGPT and, cybersecurity threats. And all of these new things are coming up. So the context is so new that there's very little experience around the work we're doing. So there's a lot of try and experimentation and design, thinking. So that's also another aspect here. And the third aspect, and actually I'll take you to the next slide where we talk about the new context and all the problems that we have currently. This fast-paced digitalization is happening, the AI and all the ChatGPT coming up. There are still organizational challenges due to COVID, but also the talent retention, big attrition is there, big resignation. Silently, a lot of people are, kind of backing off. That's another thing. Pockets of Agile is massive. It's big now with, hybrid way of working. And we'll come back to this topic because Ola has so much experience on this one. So Ola, I'm going to call on you in a short while to, learn more about pockets of Agile, and then talent development. Knowledge gap is there, especially because the context is so new for us. So there's a lot of knowledge gap. What we want to achieve and what we know, there's a gap in there. So all that makes achieving business agility also harder for us. And then there's the future of work. How does future of work look like? The existing workspace looks way different than it was. Office is now a new offsite, so to speak. People go there for meetings. That's some companies like to work that way. Some companies prefer people coming in, every day. It's just the future of work is still so sort of not yet known, a little bit of a question mark. So normally, if we look at business agility from this perspective, how do we achieve that? That's where it boils down to. And then we also know why is it not kicking off? Because normally transformations were a multi-year project, but how do we implement org changes with these new and ever-changing environment? We can't do a multi-year project. So what do we do differently to achieve that? Specifically, when we have all of these challenges, these fast-paced digitalization, org changes, pockets of Agile. There's so many pockets of Agile now, knowing there were already, especially just with Agile, Agile ways of working. And now with hybrid, it's created even more pockets. So how do we actually achieve that? And I also wanted to know these pockets of Agile that's creating lots of silos in our way of working, right? Ola, what do you have to say about all these silos that are now coming up with this new way of working, especially with hybrid?
Yeah, thank you very much for that, Nidhi. And I love this picture here, and let's zoom in a little here to the pockets of Agile, and then we zoom out again in a few minutes here. So it's okay, I take over a little and present here. Yeah, perfect. So this is a little what I would like to reflect on here. How come that not always Agile actually leads to a business agility? And I think it's quite important to really see those differences here, and also connect. It's quite a lot connected, and also what you talked about here in the introduction, Neil. It's a lot we need to start to look at the world little differently here. I'm quite sure in your example, Neil, here you want to have actually individual follow-ups. If you're still in mindset, you get a lot of silos, correct? Each and every individual is a silo. So that little silo thinking we will talk little about here. And continue here with the picture that Nidhi painted here. This is actually what we do see in many organizations in the real world. Travel around the world, we see this everywhere, correct? That you have different part of the organization here. See this as different department. R&D here, you can call it sometimes pure IT, sometimes it's both cyber physical system, but then normally some kind of R&D. Then that many times some kind of supply chain organization, some kind of a sales organization, maybe you'll have some service organization. And I think you can map it to almost every organization, even more silos, so to say. And what you normally set up, you're having in these organizations, that all of this is different departments, they have their own budgets, and many times they each of having their own portfolio of projects in them here. So they have a lot of number of projects. And then if you see R&D like IT here, I think you can connect it there. You have an IT portfolio, you have IT projects, and then you have a lot of Scrum teams under those projects in this portfolio, correct? But the problem we are having here in this context, that the system that actually maybe is a team is one system. They think we are really agile, correct? And they can for also use Scrum, they can use Kanban, whatever practices, so to say, but it's still a little silo within silos of silos, so to say. So if you're looking here, how is the total organization taking the decision, like the CEO up here in that perspective, how they are actually want to see how deliver services to the company. Well, it doesn't help that in individual silos down here with Scrum teams. So even if many organizations are doing Scrum and think they're perfect at that, they still don't get the business agility correct. And Nokia is one really, I think that's the amazing good example of that. They were, if you go back here to around mid-2000 to in 2010, I mean, there were even some called a Nokia test, correct? You did a Nokia test to see if you're good at Scrum. And they were really there, a big Scrum implementation. But still they didn't reach business agility because they were so siloed here. This is again what you presented so good here, an example here, Nidhi. So here we come again. All about business agility is a culture change. We need to start to think in a new way, and we need to start to act in new ways. And as example here, Neil, your example you had in the morning. Well, we haven't many not really start to change how we think. Correct? We're still in the old mindset, as we say. And then, if we have not the right mindset to support it, we will not have the right behaviors, and we will not get the wished outcomes either. So thinking about here, if we go back to the history, have we seen that we actually have had similar problems, and have we changed the mindset? Yes. Neil is in Japan, so I guess you know about Taichona, correct? And this is introducing here with the start around the already 50, 60, so to say, this TPS system here. And what Toichi said here, the father of TPS that later become lean, I will not give the full history here, was that I said that all we're doing is looking at the timeline from the moment the customer gives us an order to the point when we collect the money, the cash, and we are reducing the timeline by reducing non-value-added wastes. So from there is a need to a car until we have sold it and got the money, we should sustainably make that as short as possible by really working and remove the waste in that perspective. So we can learn a little from the past, correct? The history here, how really Toyota and their model drive to lean and was completely revolutionary how we do lean manufacturing in that perspective. So what was then, how did Taichi then start to help us to look at the world differently here? And that will bring in lean and lean thinking here. And these are the different steps here that we bring into the lean thinking here that go from a project thinking to a product thinking, correct? Don't just focus on your projects in your silos. See, how do we deliver value to our customer? Because if you go to the silo product there, to be able to deliver the car for Toyota, the value went through all these silos, correct? So we needed to focus here, what is the value, and then identify then what we call all the value streams. And then in those value flow, this here, value streams, focus on flow. Think about how do we stop to optimize resources and start to optimize flow instead. Sorry, I used you little here, Neil, correct? Because that mindset is still not there in this company, correct? They still try to optimize people instead to optimize flow. And then you can't get the outcomes that we want to get in here in that perspective. But this was the TPS brought in here. And then also that we have pull system that we actually, when there is a need for something, we get the pull from the customer. And then after there's a pull, we should then deliver it as fast as possible. And then to work to pursue perfection or yeah, in safe call it relentless improvements, correct? We continue improving, see the waste and get your hands dirty, literally, like Taichi is saying here, and fix those problems. So this is the core of lean, correct? So we need to start to look a little different on the world. And we need to start to see these value streams. We need to see our products here. And we need to see how the values flow across this value stream in that perspective. That requires a complete another collaboration across these different silos. We need to collaborate better. People need to collaborate closer. We need to have architecture supports this kind of value streams, etc. here. So this is typical again what we're saying here. We go from a project mindset to a product mindset. We really bring in lean. We borrow a lot of things for lean manufacturing, but we also needed to work in product development, and we can't actually do 100% mapping there when we do lean product development in that perspective. But we can get a lot of influence here from the mindset that Taichi started here. And then talking about, so we have our value stream, correct? We're looking across these different silos here. and we want to have as much flow as possible, correct? And when we, if you, for example, talk about today, we have a digital disruption, correct? We even have the disruptors now disrupting the disruptors. I mean, the ChatGPT are really disrupting Google, for example. So if you're thinking here about flow in a digital solution, correct? You can see we have solutions, correct? And what we want to get here is to have a great flow of valuable things. And how do we deliver value to our customers through our digital solution? Yeah, we do by giving them great features that they really need, correct? That is how we drive value to our customer in the digital world. So how should we then think? How should we think here then if we want to accelerate the flow here? These are the different steps that we're talking about. And see here if we can elaborate. What could this be in real life? How can you fix this? So first, visualize the work and limit work in process. What kind of the lean tools are we using to fix that? Anyone? What kind of tool? Ah, Kanban. Oh, beautiful. Exactly. We get up a Kanban and then we talk to Neil. He created a fantastic Kanban on the team level and some Atlassian tool into it. Perfect. Great. We do that. What could it be? Address bottlenecks. What could be a bottleneck here when we are actually about developing and releasing a feature? What could it bottleneck? Have you ever seen a bottleneck in that process?
A little bit out of my area, but definitely the testing phase and quality phase is usually understaffed. Yeah.
Great, Neil. Have we ever seen a Scrum team where you have, now I use the words where you have 8 coders and 1 tester, correct? We create bottlenecks even on that part, yes, correct?
I know a place that has 200 coders and 1 tester.
Yeah, exactly. And we need to fix it with automations, correct? That is one thing. So, but that's just normal. We have some bottleneck. Beautiful. You're doing this great. And then Neil, I think this handoff, what could a handoff be if we continue on that area? Handoffs, what could that be?
Well, that's where some automation comes in. So instead of having to manually pick the next ticket, you're basically looking at it and seeing, oh, this is in my inbox now. It's my turn to work on it. And dependencies comes down to planning and basically working together with teams to stop dependencies from happening in the first place and see if you can distribute the work better. Yeah, exactly. Beautiful. So we can have dependency within a team, between people. We can create the team between different components. Yes. And let's see how can we minimize. And you say a really good thing. If you can lose a couple of dependencies, can we automate things? We can remove this kind of handoffs here. Get faster feedback. How do we get faster feedback today if we are in a modern product development? We use something. How can we do
Jira, we use Slack.
Yeah, absolutely. And
we have stand-ups.
We have stand-ups exactly here. That is as how to work, collaborate. Awesome. So what more?
A/B testing.
Yeah, absolutely here. So we talk about, we get up a great pipeline, correct? With a great DevOps mindset, culture, etc. Beautiful. Then we can run experiments and get feedback loop. And as you say here, A/B testing, right? That we can get quick feedback on. Great. Batch. What is a batch? What do we mean here if you want to have smaller batch if you're in pipeline? What could a batch be in a pipeline? What if you start? What is a batch?
Feature branch.
Yes, you can actually see that a batch is here. Beautiful. Thank you, Rick. A batch is a work that we need to do, correct? So that is one way. Go avoid big branches to smaller branches, correct? or from big features to smaller features, or whatever, from big to small, something that we need to do. Absolutely, because if we get them smaller, we can actually get real feedback faster, and actually we will also be more predictable. That is queue theory in that perspective. And reduce queue lengths, what could that be? What is
Breaking
it?
into
What could it?
sprint backlog.
Yeah, and not having too many items that is waiting. Don't have a committed backlogs for 5 sprints ahead, correct? Take it smaller in that perspective. That is queues, correct? What could optimize time in the zone be? That is maybe not so well, but oh yeah, sorry, Neil, you go.
Well, I mean, could be all kinds of things, but thinking about which part of the process is going to deliver the most value or the most efficiency, the most payoff, and just try to keep the work concentrated in that area rather than spreading it out too much or overstaffing one part at the expense of another part, making sure that your teams are optimized in size and scope.
Absolutely, that's something we need to absolutely. And if we talk about Neil, if I talk about you are in the zone, you really are there in the day, and you feel I'm now really in the zone. What happens then?
You're just getting a lot of work done. You're making progress. You feel good.
Exactly. So the more time the team can really be there, focused on the work without getting a lot of things, disturbance and multitasking, then we have more time in the zone. So and can we enable that time, we will also get a better flow in that perspective. And then the last thing here is to remediate legacy policies and practice. What could that be?
Status reports.
Yeah, back to you again, Neil, correct? so you can really go to that company and have a dialogue around those things, correct? Because when the problem you see in many transformations, people say, yeah, now we should be agile, we should do safe, correct? So we will introduce PR planning, stand-ups, all of that things. And that is good, that is great. But it's not good and great if you don't stop doing other ceremonies, that weekly project follow-up meetings or no matter what, because then you just get to double governance and double of meetings, etc. So we need to remove things when we actually introduce the new things as well. So these are the things here where we're having here as flow accelerators here in a lean thinking here. And thank you for all the contribution here. That's really great here, helping with that. So, and now here, Neil, with all respect for you here, and this is the reason why I have this here. I will soon give you all credit as well here, but a year line here. But the reason I put up this here is then coming for Task Top, and the reason I have there is this book here for Kirsten. And Kirsten were the CEO of Task Top before they sold it to PlanView in that perspective. But this is a really great book. If you haven't read it here, please do so. That talks a lot of these things into it here. So what is then a value stream management? Yeah, the value stream management is that we really start to look into these things of, let's say, leadership and technical discipline that enables to maximize the flow of business value through the end-to-end solution delivery cycle. And this, I just use this picture here. DLI also have support for these things here. So, but in general, what we're saying here, value stream management, that you have typically here down here your pipeline, correct? A lot of different stack. You can see a software factory. We call it a lot of different things that you do a lot of developing, building, releasing, deploying, testing, whatever. And you have a lot of data in here, correct? And what you then are building here in value stream management here, that we start to observe those things, so we can actually both model where should we have the flow, what data should we actually measure, and what can we use that for then actually then creating, taking the right decisions, what to do here in our development value stream here. And again, this is just one tooling here. For example, what needed work Magia Line also have a great support on those things. But I honored me Kirsten here by bringing his model into this. And because what we want to do here is that we can get data, correct? Data is the new gold in today's age. And we need to have those things. And the data we want to have here is then things that are enable us to see the flow. And also going back to Taichi here, that people who can't understand numbers are useless. The Gamba where numbers not visible is also about how our people who only look at numbers are the worst of all. I really love that quote. So we need to see what shall we use the data for and understanding the Gamba. And these are, if we want to measure flow and increase flow, these are typical dimensions we're using here. How much is the work split across different items here? The velocity right now, how much work do we know we have the capacity for, so we don't start too many things. That comes a lot into here, into the load measures here. Of course, measuring time. Remember, Taichi, from the need to deliver should sustainably as short as possible. So we should really measure the time here. Efficiency here is, again, how much do we really spend on valuable things compared to the total time. But most likely you have a lot of just the work is just sitting and waiting, so to say, and that we measure with flow efficiency. And for those of you experienced with SAFe here, we also use the flow predictability. That is how good are we to fulfill the value delivery of our PI objectives. So these are typical that we start to measure those things correctly. We don't need to have that individual follow-ups on people. We want to measure flow, because what gets measured gets done into it, correct? And that itself, now we come here, are then enable the business agility. So what we really want to achieve here, that from there is a need of something here, a new business opportunity. You get the business opportunity. Until we really have delivered that to the customer, we want to take that down from years to a very few months. And here are then the business agility value stream defined here. But sorry, we think we need to mute that. And here are then the different steps. I will not go deeper into this that you're doing here, but the different steps in the business agility value stream that is then backed up. So each of these steps have a correspondence part of one of the core competences that we have in SAFe. So, but this is really core. Go all the way back here. Taichi did. We are bringing exactly those things here into our product development. So we now really move away from siloed agile to really do the business agility. So, and now I just zoomed in here to the siloed agile, correct? But if we zoom out again here, then Nidhi, what do we see then?
Yeah, so this is interesting, right, Ola? This was really the core of business agility that you shared with us. So thank you so much for that. So while Ola looked at Ola zoomed into, business agility as some core challenges. Silos is one of those. There are definitely, so thanks for asking that, Ola. There are other elements around it. This is one thing that we do, but there are other things we need to do alongside this, again, to ensure that the scaling is done at enterprise level. If one part in the organization is optimized while the other isn't, then we're still not there yet. Then it's just an incidental bump here. We're talking about business, the entire business. We're talking about enterprise. So also, anything you guys can think of other than this, if we talk about enterprise-wide transformation, achieving business agility, what else would we need to do alongside this? Any thoughts?
So thanks. It's an excellent session, Ola and Nidhi. Just to share my thoughts on that, of course, like process improvement is one of the key areas that we have to look at it. And at the same time, to achieve the business agility, I believe that engineering maturity is something that's going to play a very important role, without which breaking out silos or working with cross-functional teams integratedly is quite difficult or close to impossible. So anyway, people are people at the end. And whereas if we have the sophisticated tools, softwares, and technology in place, which can integrate the people and the cross functions, that's going to be great value add, and that might take us to the closer to the target line to achieve the business agility.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful. Thank you, Rajesh. Yeah, fantastic. Any other thoughts?
I feel like, yeah, can I add?
Yeah, sure.
I feel like, so silos just kind of naturally occur because humans are jerks and we like to get our, together in our little groups. And I feel like we have to change the culture in order to avoid those silos from redeveloping. So you were talking about Scrum. We can do Scrum great, but then we create silos of Scrum instead, right? So I think customer centricity is one way of thinking about things. If we're all aligned towards like, let's make this good for the customer and not for us. It's easier said than done, but at least like we stop thinking about our own little groups.
Yeah, absolutely. So two very key points, right? Customer centricity and culture. That's really the key. So just to sum up the things that you mentioned, this is, so these are really by no means less or more important than what Ola shared. It's all of it goes hand in hand, because business agility is much deeper journey of cultural behavior change that would help organizations build the capabilities they need to build to thrive in responsive change, to delight customers. So Neil, to your point, and to unleash people's full potential. So Rajesh, you mentioned about people and, bringing them together. So unleashing their potential. These are some other components we want to look at in totality. First one that we see here is involvement of senior leaders. So what I've noticed in my experience, that using an experienced chief transformation office, that's crucial. And when somebody is in that role of chief transformation office, they also need to pick their battles. It's not you can do everything at the same time. You need to pick your battles. You need to develop relationships to people. So developing those connections early on with people, having them see the changes you're bringing and having them see the why and of those changes and the impact it will have, that's really key. So it's not just about going on, doing the transformation. It's also about developing those connections and explaining the change we are bringing and why we are bringing that change. That's so key, because that's what brings everybody on board. And that's what I've seen also in my experience. Every time I took on this role of CTO, it was less about the change we were bringing. It was more about the people and how they see this change and getting them on board. So lots of early conversations with people, that was very important. Then the other thing we see here is driving the value delivery through a transformation office. So it's not a standard PMO. It's not about tracking progress and counting dollars. No, it's about the focus of transformation office is on driving change, on driving value, and driving value through customer centricity, which the point that Neil, you mentioned just now. So when we in a transformation office, really aligning various work streams and then those initiatives within each work stream. What are the roles, identifying initiative owners, and then driving change via those initiatives, that's at the heart of the transformation office. And also allowing people to interact with the transformation office. There was one company here where, and especially now, and this is a recent example, right? Here in one company, it's an e-commerce company here, we changed the layout and we changed it into flexible desk, and the company, they downsized in terms of office space, in terms of their real estate, because they realized not many people are coming to the office. Some are staying at home and it's only 50% people come on a certain day. And of course, the volume is different each day, but on an average, you could say 50%. So they created this TO in a big circular room in the middle of the office. So, and that was really, there were standing tables. So, and there they displayed all these new initiatives and the, and the within work stream and how the progress was going on. So measurement was also an important factor. And people would pass through every time they would go to the pantry. They'd pass through that, and that allowed them to look at the screen and have conversations right then and there. And that's a very recent something that we implemented in one of the companies here in the Netherlands. Then comes the culture change, getting the mindset right, putting quality efforts behind this culture change is also a key. Creating your culture triangle with strategy, culture, and measures. That's key. People will need to act differently. They'll need to think differently. They'll need to behave differently, because the changes are constant, random. So that's another thing in culture, building confidence in people, having the commitment, creating a workforce that will take it forward. And the belief, creating the belief in people like, yes, we're going to do this. We've identified these goals. We're going to do this. So another example where I was working with the clients and they created their overall improvement goals. And with the overall improvement goals, they said, well, if we achieve those, we could actually grow, our revenue could increase up to 100 million. And when we really reviewed it carefully, we're like, actually, you can grow twice as much. And then accepting that, yes, this is right, we can grow twice as much, and committing to that, that's, what allowed them to see things differently and do things differently. So that measure and grow, Ola covered it beautifully, so I will skip this bit here. And then it's sustaining the impact of transformation. That's such a key factor, because what I see in my experience is every time the transformation begins, everybody's, on the go, transformation changes happen. And then there comes a time after 6 months or 8 months, consultants leave the company. People internally are driving the transformation and they do it beautifully. But after a while, 3 months, 6 months, those standard habits come to kick in and we get laid back. So sustaining what we've built by retooling the capability, by creating that discipline of cadence, creating and sustaining those habits, by creating that sense of accountability and belongingness throughout, that's a really key factor of business agility. So other components. So lastly, I'd say leading change, that's how do we lead this change if we talk about business agility? How do we lead this change to ensure that we are ready for the future of work, which is kind of unknown, which is somewhere in the complex category. It's not even in the complicated category. How do we go through that? And that's really about taking a company through a committed sequence of steps, a disciplined approach where leadership is optimized. And this comes over and over again. It's like, how does leadership take this forward? How do I become a role model? So people do what I do. It's not like do what I say, but don't do what I do. So people are really doing, they're following their role model. End-to-end value delivery, which Ola, shared insights on very beautifully. One of the other things with end-to-end value delivery is that transformation can't be separate from finances. And that's what they do also in SAFE, right? That every value stream has its own budget. You cannot separate finance from transformation. You cannot have your annual goals and financing separate. It just needs to be all included. So SAFE has the new strategic priority review. I think it came, I don't know, in two versions before, in 5.0, I think, Ola, they introduced the strategic priority review, which I don't see getting implemented much, but that's such a crucial component for achieving business agility, right? And then we've got coaching to fuel the business. So that's another thing. So with coaching, it's about helping people create that permanent revolution. It's continuous change and integrating those new ways of working. So I remember one of my clients recently, they described it as, and especially because they are in this new business, I can't reveal the name, but they are in this new business. They're like, we are trying to achieve continued constructive dissatisfaction, because it is definitely about continuous exploration, continuous integration, the whole CI/CD, but not just for the work we are doing. It is much bigger. It's also about how we work with each other as people. So one thing is to implement it in process and implement our DevOps, but it's a lot bigger than that. It's also about how we work with humans. And there's a reason in SAFe also we say DevOps is a mindset. You know, we don't say it just because it's about having that CI/CD in your development pipeline, but it's also about people and the relationships and the work we do. So all in all, it's about making peace with turbulence and high change environment. So that's, that's a bit on business agility. So defining and leading the transformation for future of work, really. So that's where I think it's a great opportunity for us to open the floor and see if there are any questions, or if you want to, discuss, have a deeper dive on any of the topics we've just shared and discussed. Nothing's deadly silences.
So maybe Nidhi, I'll start with a question for you and Ola. So it seems like you guys are kind of saying that, business agility at the broad level in the organization, you kind of feel like you're not really seeing it, maybe coming to fruition. Would that be accurate? Are you guys hopeful that you think that will happen? Do you kind of feel things are stuck? What is the kind of consensus thought you have on that?
It depends. I would say it depends where you are in the world. The more Western you are in the world, the more mature it is in that perspective. But that is because, for example, if you take in the SAFe context, what we did see in US really started to trigger off here around between 2013-15. We had similar happening in Europe around 16 to 18, and now we can see how things are moving to there. So to organizations that have started a number of years ago, they really have learned, some learning by burnings, but they start to say, hey, we need to do it. So they really understand that we have to go this way. If we go to Asia here, I can see it's little where Europe were in like around 2015-ish, where still is a lot about that. I'll focus here on that we should do Scrum more or less at the absolute most. And I have only in Asia, I have trained around 1,500 people in different contexts. I meet a huge amount of companies in around Asia here. And I can say the pattern is almost the same wherever in Asia. It's really the product mindset. So you're having the projects, and then you have the Scrum teams under there. And it's not that the people don't understand they want to go here, but again, it's all about the change, so to say. We need to ask ourselves, why should the organization change in that perspective? Because that is a culture. So you need the people that really have courage leader to understand, hey, we have to change and we need to start to thinking another way. Otherwise, I think it will just continue to be in this siloed approach. Something needs to happen in maturity, also in Asia. And I'm really curious to how much is it then geographical culture or mindsets that make it to be in this way here. But I see, yeah, there's all preconditions, especially in Singapore, that is all precondition that really to be able to take this leap to really see to move into business agility. I can't see, I haven't met any people with the mindset that don't have the precondition to be able to take the leap, but still the initiative to really we have to change. Maybe that sense of urgency is not there yet. That's what I see. What do you see, Nidhi? What do you?
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah, very useful, Ola. And alongside this, there is the size of the organization comes into play. The smaller an organization is, the quicker you can achieve business agility. The maturity of the organization, the kind of business you're in, if you are already working with advanced technology processes and it's younger staff, you see that things progress fairly quickly. While if it's a legacy organization, then it's very difficult. I mean, one of the things, this is actually a great example. We talk about autonomy, creating autonomous teams, and we're not achieving that in bigger organizations. I recently worked with a startup in October last year. And this startup is already 20 years old, right? So they are not a startup anymore. They are with 4,000 people now, but they don't like to be called corporate. They hate the word corporate. Okay, their choice. So they call themselves a grown-up startup. But there, they had totally different challenges related to business agility. While in a organization, we talk about achieving autonomy, decision-making. Here, they were worried that there is so much of autonomy that they suffer. Because of that, they suffer with decision-making. So they were talking, I helped them achieving aligned autonomy. So how to minimize that autonomy, how to really enable a centralized, decentralized decision-making, bring structure to that, because everybody was so autonomous, they were all taking decisions in any which form. So creating that structure. So definitely business agility kicks in, to your point, John, but there are so many moving parts to it. And it's once again about how do you combine and create a coordination between those moving parts with leadership, with the right set of people who are leading the transformation, with implementing these. Tooling is another factor. So all that comes into play, picking your battles.
I'm thinking, I'm trying to formulate my idea here, but going back to your comments about Asia and there not being some kind of motivation to transform. I mean, we're all SPCs here, I think, so we like to say you need to transform but what is that or? And I also feel like the culture in Asia has always been based around this communal support. So they have different motivations in terms of what they consider productivity. It often means that people are working together harmoniously. It doesn't necessarily mean they have to be working efficiently. So they don't have that drive to like get rid of middle management or to get rid of paperwork, because that means that everybody is contributing somehow and they're supporting their employees. So there's this fine line of balance between, like, if I go to an American company and say, yes, we're going to transform you, well, they can automatically think, oh, right, I can reduce my workforce and become more efficient. But in Japan, they will say, but we can't get rid of these people. And that becomes a block to further discussion, because efficiency in Western terms often means cutting your workforce, right? So what is the strategy that we can use to transform without that kind of effect on headcount, or even getting that idea where it's going to affect headcount?
Fantastic question. Really great question, Neil. I have some ideas on this one. Actually, this is very recent. Yesterday, I had a conversation with someone who I'm coaching in leadership, and they are going through this phase in their organization where they're going through org simplification. The term they use is org simplification. Essentially, that organization simplification means delayering of the organization. So we are simplifying ourselves in the way we work, operating groups, cross-cutting, the operations and support throughout each business model. That's what they're doing, which would mean that some people may lose their title, middle management, some people may lose the way they work. And one of the people that I'm coaching there, he simply just said, Nidhi, I don't care what the organization goes through. I really need a promotion. I just got a child and salary is very important. So at the moment, all I really care about is my title and salary. I don't care what the work is really there. So that's one thing, right? But there comes a lot of coaching where people need to be okay with losing their title. They need to be okay by actually coordinating and participating with the team itself. So it's about transitioning from being a manager to being a leader, and then participating with the team based on your experience. And based on your experience, you may be the doer and you may be the leader, both. That's a possibility. So rather than just being the functional manager where you're only managing, here you're the doer and the leader. And then based on how your team is, you may be providing authority, providing support, or maybe doing things. That doesn't, if we work with this concept and coach the organizations this way and get through this transition of managers to leaders, it doesn't mean that people need to go away. It means that people may just need to accept that they will work differently, and they will not hold the manager title anymore.
Mm.
Ola,
And yeah, I want to add that, because that's a little cultural mindset, and we don't need to go to Asia to have that. I mean, you can go to governments, correct? In general, governments don't have that drive that we should lay off people and take down the cost. It's more, how can we faster get better services to our customers that are actually citizens? So in that perspective, it's there that you really want to do a better value delivery to the citizens, so to say. And also there, if we talk about the dual system, so to say, it doesn't have to change the title how you employ to, but you need to be able to, and this is really important to understand as a leader. I might need to act in two different cultures. I both need to be able to act in the hierarchical system, in my, you can call a line model, a line role, so to say, and there is one mindset. And at the same time, I need to go over here and work in the value stream system. It's another mindset, two different cultures. So that's a lot when I work with these organizations, that what do we need to strengthening those, many times, as say we call it business owners, so they actually can see these two systems and they can act and work in those two systems. What do we need to strengthen them so they can work in that perspective? So and still the question I have that, so but like, I mean, it's really this mindset of value is strong in governments, both in US and in Europe, and still it's not there in Asia. We see it's a growing interest in governments. So I think mainly, and this is just it's just like it's moved over the world, so to say. So I have a strong beliefs that we soon will see great things happening in Asia, also from that perspective into it.
Maybe I can make a couple comments on that one as well.
It's just
I think that number one, over the years in agility and the agile coaching and as an SPC, I often hear people kind of give the agile means kind of greater efficiency. And a lot of times for senior management, that means job cuts. I don't think those two are the same thing, right? Agile means more effectiveness in the organization, right? It's more effective at carrying out its goals, whether it's a government or a private sector or a startup, whatever it is. But that does not necessarily correlate with cutting jobs. Now, obviously, for executives in a company that wants to look good quarter over quarter or whatever, especially in Western companies, we do that a lot. Right, quarter over quarter results. Well, yeah, obviously they'd say, okay, we'll cut some jobs. Let's do agile, right? But that's really never been the goal of agility. Is not just to cut jobs. I know that's like, maybe that's a shortcut to, agility, but that's not really ever been the goal of Agile. So I don't think that I would correlate the two, that, agility equals, getting to a smaller workforce. Now, the other thing I would touch on is that, at least from my experience, a startup is definitely not the same as a large corporation. I mean, a lot of large corporations bring all of us in, right, to help them with their agility. I've seen all kinds of different talks and religious battles about Agile. I'm sure you all have as well, right? I mean, that happens all the time. But the bottom line is, at the end of the day, at least in my opinion, I don't expect that large corporation to look like, I mean, I run a startup now, to look like a startup, right? I expect it to look like probably a more effective large corporation, with, probably some bright spots of agility, but I don't think they're going to act like a new company that was born a year ago, with new funding. And I just, it's kind of like a story, and I'll stop after this, that, there was a coach, an Agile coach, that was talking about, what he was doing, government. I think it was like US government that he was working with. And I asked him, we were at a conference in Singapore, and he said, hey, how can you, isn't it really hard to work with US government to, for agility, right? And he goes, well, I kind of look at it this way, Wisconsin, China, that it's like if you're a doctor or a coach or a trainer for, an athlete, right? If you're training a weekend warrior, somebody just goes out to play their favorite sport on the weekend, your success looks very different than if you're training an Olympic athlete, right? If you're training the weekend warrior, they're just happy if they can come back in on Monday morning without an injury. That's it, right? So that might be success for you as a trainer, / coach, doctor, for athletes. But your training for and coaching for an Olympic athlete is very different. They've got to be able to be at the peak of their game in terms of performance, in terms of nutrition, in terms of everything, right? And so your success looks very different. And I feel like, as SPCs, as Agile coaches, in whatever way you're engaging, we have to look at, if a large corporation is coming in, it's not going to be realistic for them to believe that they're going to act like a 6-month-old startup company ever. I mean, that's not the definition of success that they should be looking for, in my opinion.
Neil, you asked this
Thank
question. Is there a burning issue underneath this question?
Not necessarily. It's just that Japan is a really weird place, even within Asia. So, like, Ola, you mentioned titles, and there aren't really many titles here other than, what manager. After that, there are no titles. And people don't tell you what their role is here. But there is an implied, very hierarchical society underneath it, right? And the whole purpose of Agile and SAFe is to get rid of that hierarchy, but that's kind of just built into the entire culture here, and other places in Asia too. But Japan really functions because of that, and trying to disrupt that hierarchy is really not attractive. It doesn't have anything to do with salaries or titles or getting laid off or efficiency. It's just that it's so unnatural for them to think that they can talk with their boss about a problem, right? And that's the basic fundamental problem that we're running into, is just like, how can we get that gap down in a very unnatural way? In America, that makes sense to everybody because we talk to our bosses like that. But in Japan, it's like they can't even imagine just, sending a direct email to your boss with an idea is just like, no way, I got to wait for 2 months till the next big company meeting where I get my 30 seconds of mic time, right? So it's a really interesting challenge here, because the cultural difference between what SAFe wants and promises versus what the culture accepts. So that's kind of our biggest blocker right now.
Yeah,
it's just getting that. Yeah.
No, and I think what I hear now, two things, right? One is how, so in this whole, discussion we are having, there are two things that I can actually break it down to. One is hierarchy, how comfortable people are in getting rid of their title and just being part of the team and leaders instead of managers. And the other thing is, what is your comfort zone in bringing up issues and identifying and, raising those issues to your manager? How do you build that close relationship and openness and transparency within the culture. I think, and when we talk about, you know, various cultures and, you know, part of the world, the second bit, which is about keeping that openness, transparency. Yes, definitely. You're saying, well, in America, that happens in Europe also, in Amsterdam, but I've seen that starting to happen a lot more in Asia now. However, the other bit, which is getting, you know, okay, being okay, you know, in letting go of the hierarchy and the manager title and everything. We are saying that in Asia, it's difficult, but to be honest, I've seen this being difficult in every part of the world. The example that I shared was somebody from the UK, and in Amsterdam, and we talk a lot about, you know, it is really not about the title, and it is about, you know, openness and everybody's equal. And especially in Europe, the culture is very flat, right? But even here, there is so much pain when we go through this simplification exercise within an organization. So much pain. Yeah.
I mean, also, Nidhi, I think adding to that from a safe perspective, that's one of the reasons that Scaled Agile separates people's titles in the organization from the, you know, the operation of a release train, right? Because the point is, you don't want to spend your time fighting with people about, let me get rid of your title, get rid of your, no, you can't. They're going to go, no way. I spent years trying to get here. Why would I give it up now, right? Yeah. So that's why Scaled Agile has like that virtual, you know, it overlays, but it doesn't tell you you've got to, you know, okay, we got to get rid of all the VPs now. We got to get rid of all the senior managers. It just says you need to play your role. If you're a release train engineer, great. You know, if you're product management, great. But it really, whatever title you happen to have, okay, doesn't, you know, we're not really worried about that, right? Outside of the release train.
That's a really helpful point. Thanks. Yeah, that's another mindset thing that's hard to get over when you're getting into discussions about roles, and people here do tend to equate it with a new job responsibility, not just like an acting role that you might change in a month or two. Yeah.
Yeah, and I might add that is we see here, this is just another kind of matrix organization, correct? We have real organization and we have value streams, correct? And that we have done in the past, correct? If we go back many years in time where we introduced different kind of project and program management, we didn't say yes because now we start project management. Oh, now you need to throw away all the titles so we can run projects. We didn't that, correct? So it's just the same system. We need to see both systems. And as I said, we need to strengthen the people that see the two systems and know how to act that. As you can do today is your project. How can I act as a good project manager, and how can I still be working and acting in the hierarchical system as well? How can I be in both? I need to be able to see that I'm two systems, and you need to optimize your work for that system you are within.
Good, thank you.
Yeah, on top of that, the major challenge that I can see is integrating this hierarchy structure with the value streams. When we really look at the value, the way how it's flowing from the portfolio to the delivery teams who are working on the development value streams, most of the times in the legacy organizations, we fail to, or the delivery value stream related teams fail to understand the value that they are delivering or value that they are adding to the portfolio level. And this is the major gap that I can see in the hierarchy as well as in the value stream. So how can we address this, and what are the major considerations, takeaways for this?
Yeah, and it's safe there. Thank you for bringing it up there. That we have the crucial parts is in the beginning of every transformation. There's the golden three that they talk about. How should you think? I mean, the values and principles. What we need to do, leading safe. Combine that with the portfolio and value stream identify workshops. Organize around value. We need to start there, because if you don't do that properly, thinking about, okay, what are our value stream? Are they truly going across the silos? What is our strategy with our portfolio in that perspective to support the strategic themes that support the overall strategy organization? We need to start to get things right from the beginning. So that always, when I go into transfer, I always start there. Okay, I coach, what is your vision? What would you want? What's actually your vision and mission? What do you want to go? And from there, okay, what is then connected that to strategy? What is your OKRs, strategic themes? And start to talk little about where you should go with the things. And from there, you start to get your first understanding. That's connected portfolio, then the first understanding. So you can do a good value stream identification. Because without the good value stream identification to support the overall goal, this will never work, correct? That's why the latest principle in number 10, correct? Organize around value. It will simply not get the effect if you're not organized around value and do this properly. Then we can launch trains, etc. after that, but we always need to keep the portfolio work and those kinds aligned with execution. The lean portfolio management is crucial for you to have a transformation that actually lead to the results that you're expecting. What is happening, you, Rajesh, when I say that? And then back to more of you. But first to you, Rajesh, just ask the question. What happens when I pitch this?
Yeah, that's really interesting. My question still lies the same, because when the legacy systems or legacy organizations, the leadership teams always feels insecure when we introduce the value stream system. And obviously SAFe is recommending to keep the hierarchy same, and whereas we can introduce the value stream system by introducing the new roles like RTEs and other things actually. But when it comes to the reality, the ground level team, the deliveries team, we can speak about the value that it is going to bring on board because of the initiation that we have. And obviously, when we look at actual delivery teams, so we are not talking about the benefits or motivational factors. Those are going to impact their career, or like how it is going to add value to their career actually. And for example, like if we are going to buy the teams for the value, the first insecure feeling is that it's going to be short term. The moment the value is delivered, there might be chances that that they might be out of the job, or they don't have the work, more work to do, and this kind of insecurity feeling might be making them to not to contribute more productively. And the second thing is that they are not seeing any financial benefits, that like how the portfolios are looking at. In the sense like portfolio side, yes, obviously by achieving business agility, they are having a lot of returns on as a return on investments as they are hitting the market within short span of time. And what's the benefit that the value streams, or at the delivery side, the actual developers who are working on the development value stream are gaining because of this agility. And sometimes it adds even more pressure on them. And obviously it is need to be addressed over the period of time. And I agree that, and we shouldn't like stop it because of this bottleneck. And how are we planning to address that? And what are the measures that we are planning to take for that?
There was many questions in one, correct? So if we just try to zoom out, what do you see, if you summarize what you said here, what is today your biggest impediment to actually be able to have good value stream with great solution into a portfolio? What is the main, if you pick the top impediment, so to say? What is most stopping you?
To make long story short, the actual development value stream unable to look at the financial benefits that they are going to get because of implementing the SAFe. Of course, leadership team is the one who makes the decision to implement this, and they are happy because they are getting return on investments. And what's the motivational factors that we can showcase to the actual development value stream?
Exactly. And then I would say here, how important is business agility for you? I would say that we need to come back with here. What would it mean that if it look on the value delivery of a business opportunity goes from 2 years to 6 months? What is the value in that?
Yeah, that's quite intangible. That's where the actual issue comes into. I mean, that's where the actual challenge comes into picture. Because we cannot see the actual value that we are going to reap because of adjusting this timeline instead of 2 years coming to the 6 months.
Great.
And we cannot distribute that value.
And that should be one of the first discussions take, correct? Why don't we know the values to go from 3 years to 6 months? Why don't we understand And that goes back, what is the problem we try to solve or opportunity we want to enable? Do we know what problem to solve, what opportunity to enable? So we need to go back and ask the right questions, correct? Already from the beginning. But just for me here, Rajesh, if your organization don't know the positive impact go from 3 years to 6 months in today's world of a new business opportunity, I would really start to take discussion there, because that discussion you need to take, correct?
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting point. My question is that, yes, organization and leadership teams are aware and they got a tangible or intangible numbers for them, like what's the benefit that they are going to reap. But how that value can be distributed without value can be realized to the third and the fourth layers, actually, like when we look at the portfolio to the development value stream.
Absolutely, that discussion to take, but I'm a little stubborn here. I would really go back again. We had a great business opportunity in today's world. We have really business opportunity in our organization. Why don't we know what value it is to go from 3 years to 6 months to realize that value? I would really start to take that discussion first.
And again, that's an interesting question. There are several factors in the market that can influence the kind of revenues that it is going to generate, right? It's just not that I can squeeze my delivery time from 2 years to 6 months. It doesn't mean that I'm going to capture at least 60 to 70% of the market. And there might be competitors who might be doing even better in that particular period of time.
Now we get there. And again, I don't have the answer for you, Rajesh. But for sure, in your organization, I would really recommend take that discussion. And from there, we can then talk about other things after that. Okay. So I have talked a lot here. Nidhi and John, what would you like to pitch here?
No, thanks, Ola. Anyway, it's very interesting insights and questions made me to rethink about what I am asking. Thank you so much.
Very interesting discussion, and this is context specific, right? So Rajesh, in this case, it's context specific, but what I make out of it and very valid, right? So decision is taken, SAFe, we're going SAFe, or any other framework for that matter, but then people, third, fourth layer, who are in the part of development, they need to work much faster, much quicker, respond very quickly, lots of short stints of planning, and deliver. What are they getting out of it? Right?
Exactly. That's
Why
the question.
should they do it? Why should they change, for that matter? But for me, and that's very valid, right? And that's why most of the transformations are like, there's lots of change and resistance. It's like, we need to change, we need to do all the work, but what's in it for me? So there is this power mechanism built around transformations. And I feel that the power mechanism needs to be passed on to people. So first thing is starting with the why. Why are we transforming? And when I coach leadership to, go with this transformation, the why doesn't only necessarily has to come from business goals and business outcomes. So ROI is only one of the factors. There are many other factors around it. And one of the factors is why? What is it going to bring in for our people? So it's a whole holistic approach, right? Company benefits, company value. What is our value towards a customer that we are delivering? How is this transformation going to add on to the customer value? How is this organization going to add on to the value for our people? Employee engagement, happiness, retention, employee growth. How is this whole transformation going to address that? So that's another thing. What are the actual problems people are facing if they're demotivated, or if, what are the actual problems they're facing, and how are we going to address that by means of this transformation? That's another thing. And then another component of business agility is then also sustainability, your value to the environment, which we a lot of times overlook, but that's also such an important. What is our value to the world out there? So if we create this whole business agility and enterprise transformation, looking at all these aspects equally and addressing the why of people, if we all go ahead in this transformation together, everybody in the organization, what is benefit from your end? The what's in it for me factor is really strong here. So I try to, I use that power framework. So the purpose of this, the outcome we are trying to achieve, what's in it for me, how are you going to be engaged? So if we are going to create, or if we are thinking of creating a business model and organizing in value stream, we need to also get input from people because they are actually there doing the work. So how do you see that, being reorganized? And then the roles and responsibilities. How is that going to be changed? So that framework, if we do that, that can solve the why for people and help them bring them on board for this change. So it's not really a top-down approach then.
And also, Rajesh, what I find is, with my, my thoughts around this problem, the kind of scenario what you have is, I feel the ideal way of applying the change management techniques, that's also playing a role, because we should know when exactly the change needs to be introduced in the organization. And if we do it at the wrong time also, this problem will arise, Rajesh, because people really don't know when they can really intake the stuff and do it actually. So that change management, as Nidhi also mentioned, we should also understand a little bit of what are the purpose of the transformation? What are the goals of the transformation? Is it improving the predictability or bringing in time to market? What exactly is the goal? That also we should have a catch, Rajesh, actually. Because when you introduce something at the wrong time, definitely that will not really work out. So that timing is very, very important, and that's what is organizational change management all about, which Kotter talks also, He says you have to create the urgency, you need to create that need at the same time, at the right time, actually, only then it will work out. Otherwise, it might, the transformation might fail also. It might end up in a disaster. So that change management also, I feel, is probably, that's what my thoughts say, it is an ingredient to kind of, accelerate this process and get it done, like Rajesh.
Thank you,
Hari,
Nidhi,
I
and
agree
thank
on
you,
that
Hari.
point. Sorry,
Yeah.
the change management is very essential. Just the communication, the organization,
Correct.
the visibility, of people of what's happening.
Yeah.
I've often seen agile initiatives that are actually doing really well on the ground, but when you go and look at the executive or across the organization, the view is very different because that communication is not happening, right? So that really is important. That's a great point.
Yeah, because only if you apply the change management appropriately, all these things will work. Because when you work in an enterprise or a very big organization, the change management is the one which guiding the, we should know when relevantly we need to train the people, get the things ready. It's organizational change management, OCM, which is completely, controlling these areas, I feel, Rajesh.
Okay, thank you, Nidhi. Thank you, Hari. And thank you, John, for your wonderful thoughts. I still believe that there is a gap in the motivation compared to the leadership. From the top leadership team to the value stream delivery teams. When we have to introduce this change management, that's one of the critical factors need to be considered, and all the teams has to be coached, and the value need to be presented even to the ground level development value streams, knowing what exactly that they are delivering and how they are going to add value to the organization. And systems and processes is one thing, and at the end, human is human, and always they ask for what's there in for me, as Nidhi rightly said. So that's something that need to be addressed by the frameworks, and which I never seen in any of the frameworks, though I know I gone through several frameworks, including PMPI, till OCM, and SAFE recently. And SAFE is one of the best frameworks in that, for that matter, and which is tightly integrated and highly and close to my heart, actually. So and still that the empathy factor is missing. So that I think in the over the period of time in the latest versions, I can see that, I believe so. Thank you so much.
I guess I'll touch on, Neil, it was back on your point, kind of the cultural, from an Asia perspective. One of the things I think that really, in terms of successful transformation, is don't fight the culture too much. We have kind of the saying in the West, at least in America, that, you know, is the squeaky wheel gets the grease, right? And in Asia, especially in Japan, it's the nail that sticks up gets hammered down, right? It's a very different cultural mindset. And if your transformation is fighting against that culture, same thing in Singapore, all my years, you know, delivering there, you really can't successfully deliver, you know, agility if it's fighting directly head to head with the culture. You kind of have to, you know, like in a martial art, you have to kind of go along with the flow of what's happening. So, you know, that hierarchy is there, and it exists in Asia, and I doubt that that's going to change anytime soon. I mean, lean and, you know, Toyota manufacturing started in Japan anyway, right? So, I mean, certainly those elements exist in Japan, but the hierarchy is something I like. Scaled Agile, like we said, the virtual organization that sits there, because you're not fighting. I remember, and I will not name them, a Agile practitioner in Asia who used to be very passionate. He created his own framework. Again, I will not name him. And he would spend ridiculous amounts of time fighting with executives on how they needed to get rid of their titles, get rid of their people. And I was like, you must just enjoy pain, because it's not going to happen. I mean, why spend months and months and months trying to tell people how they need to give their jobs up? Why don't you just get to trying to deliver some value, right? So I like Scaled Agile's approach. Use the virtual organization. Don't spend your time fighting the hierarchy, because as they say in Japan, I believe it is, the nail that sticks up gets hammered down. So you don't want to fight that battle.
As an external consultant, you can't fight that battle anyway. They just find somebody else that says what they want, right? Sorry, my coworker had a question, actually, a different question. Is that okay if I ask it? Okay, so he was asking if you actually do map out the value streams for your customers every time, or do you let them figure that out? Or
So you facilitate it, of course the customer needs to be there, but absolutely we have to help the customer to identify the value stream. That it is absolute. Then I have been part of the organization that actually started in the different silos, and it was a conscious decision to just grow some kind of learnings, and then they take it, evaluate it. Now I talk really big organization. This was also a car manufacturer in Sweden.
Okay.
Actually, so you can maybe guess who they started in that way, and then they growed from there. But again, if you really want to get business agility, you have to do value stream across the site. Absolutely, 100%.
Okay. And I have an add-on question to that. So because we're in Japan dealing with Japanese car manufacturers, these companies are like cities by themselves, and their divisions are basically completely separate companies by themselves. Yeah. Sometimes even a branch office of that would be a separate company, and they treat them like separate companies. So in that case, there is definitely a company-wide system, but we probably are only seeing one tiny fraction of it. And within SAFe, is it okay to treat that area as its own little kind of corporation with its own silos and its own value stream, and just deal with it from there?
Absolutely, that is fully that's again the portfolios, correct? Where how do you set up your portfolio, and what is the values within that portfolio? And then this become they have a portfolio, so to say, to actually then make sure you have the flow process. Absolutely, that's I would say is not that supported. I say that is the most common implementation.
Yeah, because there's little chance that we get actually to the C level in a lot of these areas. They have their own little C level kind of thing, right?
Yeah. Okay. But again, we need to see the system, and we need to see flow, and we need to see value streams. What is within the portfolio? What is portfolio? Because if you don't put the portfolio, each portfolio will be a silo, correct? But again, it all comes to mindsets and the system thinking in that perspective.
Okay. Yeah, it's just the sphere of influence is only this far, and that's all we can access, right? there's
Yeah.
no way we can get
So
beyond that.
so both the sphere of influence and also on the solutions. We have both of
Yeah.
those dimensions we need to look, and how loose couple are the different solutions. Some organizations I have, I was in coach is in energy. It was, they have very loose couple solution. Each and every silo was its own company, and they had their own systems, their own solutions. So then it was really straightforward. It was much easier. But this is again also, this is all about system thinking. Whatever, if you have a system, what is architecture? What is organization architecture, correct? Like you can have a technical organization, you can organization. How is the architecture? How can you loose couple? And then principle number 9, what is centralized and decentralized? So the principle is just to see different systems and apply the principles there as well.
Okay, that's
And
great.
just as a
Thank you.
time box check, we have about 10 minutes here, so I think we got time for a few more questions. Really great discussion. So just putting out there about, we have about 10 minutes till the top of the hour. And didn't mean to stop anybody from saying anything else, but just letting you know. that we
I feel like I'm doing half of the question, or more than half of the question and answer here.
Good.
So
We love it. We love it.
let me ask one more then. So from a tools perspective, we have Jira Align and things like that, but do you think there is a demand for something not quite as extreme as Jira Align, but something that can be built up to that point when the customer is ready for it? Do you think there's a kind of a gap in between like Agile Scrum tools and the portfolio level stuff that needs to be filled?
I think, Neil, you also have a tool called Kendis. I'm not sure if you're aware of it, actually. It's a kind of a tool which can be plugged into many areas, I think. I mean, I'm not worked on that much, but sounds it's kind of, it's more or less, it goes along with Jira Align, the same lines, actually. Like, so Kendis is one tool which is very handy for the release trained engineers and all that, I heard, because it pulls in a lot of reports of how the PI is progressing and all that. So Kendis is one tool which I've heard. Kendis, Kendis, yeah.
Kendis, okay, good, thank you.
Yeah, sure.
No, there's a lot of tools coming here now. I mean, you represent some of them. Yeah, actually, yesterday I got acquainted. I haven't worked with it before. It's from Siemens, the Polarion there. So I was actually sitting with that, and yesterday we actually configured all the way from portfolio down to the teams. So it's a lot of toolings out there. I generally try to keep away from that discussions, etc. here. But in general, if I say there's some tool that I hear that organization, I haven't heard any organization that are unhappy with Jira Align except for pricing. But besides that, people are very positive to that too. So I think that is, and then also how you combine it with standard Jira for use it in different layers, so to say. But I guess there you have much more details than me, but that's just what I hear and see out there when I meet organization.
Oh, that's good. Thank you. I appreciate that feedback. That's good to hear, because I don't hear much feedback here in Japan about whether Jira Align is successful or not. The barrier to entry is price, and structure is the big
yeah. And actually, I see it actually accelerating, especially when I do the SPC trainings, and almost every SPC trainer, someone that just talk amazing good things about Jira Align, how it's make the life much easier, complete new situations, and so I haven't heard any negative about Jira except the price.
I think Apptio is another tool which can be quite useful. I mean, quite useful to you, because it's got a lot of integration facilities available in that. So, and only gap that we can see is it doesn't have the tightly integrating CI/CD process, and Jenkins is not possible to integrate, which most of the financial services and banking industry is using. Other than that, for the portfolio management to the program management level, you can track it very well. In fact, Kanban can be quite easily integratable. And many features in that. It's APPTIO. Actio.
I know that. Yeah, I know that company.
Yeah.
They actually create a bunch of Jira plugins as well. So yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. There are a lot of plugins that we can use.
My ability to sell other solutions is limited because I'm a Atlassian partner. So
There is one more
Understood.
actually that I'm hearing a lot about, Monday.com. Has anyone used it? Because they say, I mean, Jira Line is great. I've used it with a couple of companies, but the new name that keeps on popping up now is Monday.com, because they are a holistic tool. They do from CRM all the way to project management, portfolio management, and you can customize it. It's all fully customizable. Is there any experience in this group regarding
I've
Monday?
heard of it, Nidhi, but I don't think that it's that I'm aware of really aligned to any particular agile approach. I think, like you said, it's more of a holistic. I mean, you could think of it, I guess, as business agility, but I know there's traditional project management in there. You know, different pieces are available. So I don't think it's necessarily what I would call an agile tool, but I think definitely it does provide like a holistic, you know, kind of solution for an organization, maybe.
Yeah, holistic, definitely, because when I work a lot with enterprise, you know, with the board and enterprise for the enterprise transformation, and that's where we need to align all the sales processes and even, you know, OKRs, the strategic priority review that we implement. OKRs is, you know, at an organization level, that's where that tool helps quite a bit. But for Agile Flow, you can build in your custom flows. So because not every team necessarily has to be a Scrum team, right? Sales team doesn't necessarily work in Scrum. A customer service team can be fully operating in a Kanban model. So then you can really align those differently per team. Yeah.
I think, yeah, I haven't used Monday.com, but it's kind of like an ERP. So it's really popular with startups because they can't typically afford a full ERP, or they don't need it, but they can build it up as they go along.
Yeah.
And another one is Odoo, which is an open source ERP system too. It's quite interesting. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think we got time for about one more.
All right, Rajesh, it's up to you. Got to even it out between you and me.
Not really. It's all good. All good. I think we can take it, man.
Can't think of one right now. I just got satisfied with all my tool talk.
Great, guys. So I think we're pretty much approaching the top of the hour. I don't know, Nidhi, Ola, you guys have any closing thoughts as we wrap up for the day?
I'd say it's been super useful, such an interesting discussion and really nice inputs and questions, and also thoughts coming from all of you, which is great. Just wanted to announce there's a course in May that I'm delivering on delivery at scale. And it's not safe related, it's not, you know, discipline agile related, it's just a framework agnostic delivery at scale process and more about enterprise agility. So if anyone is interested, you can feel free to contact me.
Ola, any final thoughts?
Yeah, and maybe say thanks a lot here. Yeah, I can do one commercial. You know, there's be a big release coming now, 15th of March. So, and we are actually running. I mean, most of you have done SPC, correct? But we'll have the SPC training in Asia, the 3rd to the 6th of April on this new big release here. It's online. So it's a great opportunity to attend that, or if you know someone that want to attend.
Great. Very good. And do you want to give people a little advert on the new safe release? Anything that folks should be aware of?
I'm unfortunately under NDA, so I'm not allowed to tell more than the 15th of March. That will come. There will be this big release. There will be upgrade paths, etc. I have been, of course, in Boulder and all enabled and everything. So I know what will come, of course, and contributed here. But be that, yes, like I said, 15th of March, there's a big webinar coming out from Scaled Agile where you see and hear all those scrolls. That can be valuable things to do in the 15th of March. I think it will be 16 of March in Asia. Actually, look at the timing, but it's all around social media I can just say it's a great new release coming out. It's really a lot of great things coming there. I really love it. So I'm looking forward to see when you all see that, and that may be a next coming topic to discuss.
Absolutely. All right.
We are all
good.
curious
So-
of looking for the new version. What are all the enhancements that they had made? In fact, I enrolled for it, so let's see.
Beautiful.
All right, guys. So I think that we're at the top of the hour, ready to wrap up. Thanks, Nidhi. Thanks, Ola. Thanks, everybody for joining. And I think everyone, thank you. And we will see you guys in the upcoming month. Have a great one.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Nidhi.
Have a
Thanks
great
for
day.
now.
So much.
See you. Bye-bye.
Very
Bye-bye.
interesting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very interesting. Bye bye.
Yeah, bye.